All right, welcome back, everyone. We are wrapping back here Monday, 5 p.m., episode 10. Episode 10. Hope everyone is doing well. For those of you who have not been here before, Rapid Fire Golf, you can throw your questions up and I will answer them rapidly, as rapid as I can, and do my best to get through all of the questions this time and go a little bit faster. A back injury for last week, so we had a little delay, but I think we're good enough to move. Looks like the video's got a little lag going, but hopefully that'll clear itself up here as we go. And when you guys are ready, we can fire away the questions. I got a big lag on mine.
There's a lag up here. Audio is great.
Okay.
Video was lagged.
So we'll see what we can do here. Why do you overcomplicate the game so much? Yeah, listen, Matthew, I think sometimes golf should be really simple, you know, or any sort of subject should be really simple. And when you go play golf, you want to be thinking as little as possible and have it be very, very simple. But when you're learning something new or you need to learn how to get better, sometimes it needs to get complicated before it gets so simple. So, you know, I've taken a lot of lessons or talked to a lot of people who keep it really simple and get no better. So I don't think simple is always the first answer. It should be like the end goal. Any ideas on what we could do here, Mayor, with the video? Gonna ride it out.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a situation.
Now we're going a little better. Okay, Robbie, sorry about the delay. Hopefully we're kind of back on track here. What's your thoughts on single plane swing? Yeah, listen, the idea when you take your setup position, if you drew a line up the shaft through your body and then a second line like right through your elbow plane that made a little window, the goal to keep things as simple as Matthew likes it would be up and down that plane with as minimal shift as possible. So single plane, you know, or keeping the club riding up and down the same plane is what we're all looking for. You know, if there was going to be a variance, and again, with my back, I'm not going to be able to demonstrate super well this week, but I'll do the best I can. If there's going to be any variance, you would want to go a little bit more vertical on the way back and a little bit more shallow on the way down for speed, draw, etc. But really, we're just trying to go up and down, right? Like I always use Adam Scott as an example because he's so vanilla and just right up the plane line, right back down the plane line, and the downswing plane would just be slightly underneath the backswing plane. That would be optimal in terms of hitting the ball from the path from the inside, etc. Yeah, video. Hopefully the video is a little better now. I think I'm seeing it on my end. Looks like it's in the beginning. Scott, Eric, great hanger drill last week. Thank you. Are you attempting to hold on the hinge all the way through contact? So Scott, with the hanger and the hinge, it really depends on what you need, right? So I did the stock model where you could see, and I think we used Adam Scott, you know, the angle between the lead arm and the club, and then we looked at it from face on. It's a little deceiving because it's two-dimensional instead of three-dimensional, but the point remains true. From the setup position, the angle you have here into takeaway, that angle should change very little. So from setup angle, this little angle, I think 145 degrees to here, should change very little. Then gradually you're adding hinge to the point where you're 90 or just outside of 90 by left arm parallel, and then less than that at the top and in transition. And then you're gradually adding. So I kind of went through there if you rewatch that, Scott, in terms of the numbers. Or you're attempting to hold the hinge all the way through? No. So I would say, no, you're not attempting to hold the hinge. So the hinge would be start very little, adding it. It'll add a little bit more in transition to about left arm parallel. It's also the max is going to shallow. And then from here, from left arm parallel through impact, you're gradually unhinging as your hands are moving forward. So from left arm parallel through impact, you're gradually unhinging. Now, if you unhinge too soon, right, you might feel as though you're creating hinge and holding it longer. Feel as though you're creating hinge and holding it longer to make a kind of find middle ground. Jim, what's up, man? Hope all is well. Seeing your limited flexibility, could you please explain why extension and follow through produces speed? Yeah, so extension in any movement, Jim, produces speed. Jumping, throwing, kicking motion, etc. And we produce speed by our body pushing against the ground and then it pushing back at us, right, theoretically. And that's how we produce speed. So when I do a flexion extension, as I'm flexing over and then I extend back up, that's essentially me using the ground, right, in the technical terms. And so when I get extension on the backswing, right, the extension on the backswing helps with distance because it helps me swing longer. It also helps me reflex more. And then as I re-extend into the follow through, that's going to be a nice thing to shallow out the golf club as well. Reflex during the follow through piece. So it's using the ground more effective. It allows you to swing longer during the backswing, and then into the follow through, the same thing. If I stay too bent over too long, my arms have to fold. I get very narrow this way. If I extend, belt buckle up towards the sky, chest up towards the sky, I can keep my arms long for much longer, much wider follow through arc. So speed with the ground, and then the ability to move the hands and the club on the arc that's wider on both sides to create more distance as well. Michael, what's up, man? Could you share a drill or two for keeping the trail arm from overbending on the backswing? Yeah, the best one is a width drill. So if we looked at a bucket, this is the best one that I've seen. You could get one of those arm sleeves. You get one of those pool noodle or the pool floaty things, like for kids, put that on your arm, or get like a sleeve, PVC pipe, right? Things like that. But I like to do the bucket. So you put the bucket, I'm gonna have to work my mic, but you put it in your chest, and then you put your arms like this. So you put your arms connected like this. You're squeezing the bucket with your arms, and the bucket's in your chest. And when you make a backswing, you point the bucket behind you. I can't demonstrate this perfectly, but you'll point the bucket back here. It doesn't allow your trail arm to bend. It'll feel like your right arm's really, really wide. And then you keep that in and keep it in on the way down. If you search my name, Michael, and width drill, you'll see that. That's probably the best one. Or again, like a floaty sort of thing. If you were going to err, I'd rather the trail arm be too long, like too straight for too long with less hinge, rather than too bent too early. That's one of the clear differentiators you see amongst better ball strikers and worse. Better ball strikers have a wider trail arm. Poor ball strikers tend to have too narrow of a trail arm. Poor ball strikers I see also have too much hinge, whereas better strikers are wider, less hinge, more flat to bowed. So the trail arm feels wider, less hinge, more flat to bowed, right? So I like that width drill. Michael, on driver, where is weight distribution on right foot or left ear at impact? Where is weight distribution? On right foot or left? Oh, or left at impact. Yeah. So not everyone's the same, but in terms of like a stock pressure shifting, I would say with your driver, and it depends on what your goals are, it depends on what kind of speed you have, I would set up 50-50 or slightly more to the right if I need more. Like if I have a slow club head speed and I need to hit up and hit it farther, I'd set up 50-50 or even feeling 55-45. I'd shift a good amount of it into the right, or said differently, unweight your left foot. So if I'm like, let's just say I'm 50-50. During my backswing, I want to feel like I'm taking pressure off my lead foot, which means I'm putting more into my right foot. As I start back down, I'm pressing back into my left foot from here, and then I'm pushing up and back, and my head should be staying behind the wall and working back as my belt buckle and chest work up. So it's unweight the left foot onto the right, re-weight it early in transition, and then push up and back from there. So, you know, the answer depends on if you're looking at a pressure mat, you want a technical answer, or you want a feel answer. I'd say from a feel perspective, get off your left onto your right, get back onto your left early, and then push up and back. Now that might be way too much to think about. If you're already doing two of those three, you only have to think about one of them, but that's the literal answer. So it'll be left, but your head, if you look at a wall here, one of our videos we did with the driver, a bunch of our videos got deleted by accident, so we're trying to re-upload them. One of them on the driver that'll get re-uploaded is the keys to great driving, head back, hips forward. If you look at great drivers and you draw a line up the front of their head at setup, their head's on it or just behind it at the during the backswing. So I set up here, I stay on it or go just behind it. I stay on it in transition, and then from about left arm parallel through impact, it actually backs away as they're turning to help them hit up. That's a big key. Another big key, we're going to do a video on at some point. If you take a picture of the players, drivers who hit it far, and you get back to about halfway back, arms parallel, their right arms are very wide and they're very less hinged. And then to start down, they're more this way. I see no great long drivers, very few are like real bent and real narrow here. They're wide with not a lot of hinge, and then boom. I don't even know what the question was there. Weight distribution, okay. So yeah, okay. Where can I buy the hanger trainer? Driver, where's weight? Where can I buy the hanger? So there's a hanger. I think the guy's, it's like Watson Golf, does the hanger. I've been talking to a couple of people now. I got a new training aid I want to make, which is the hanger with the hook that like goes into your clubs. You don't have to hold it. It's like the hanger that's already made, but that combined with a little bit of Marty Nowicki's impact snap. So you can feel, you have a hook here to do the hinge amounts. You don't have to hold on inside the club, doesn't feel goofy. And then there's going to be a ball outside and a ball inside for your wrist conditions. Something that kind of goes up your lead arm. So that might be in the process. We'll see. But Watson Golf is a hanger. I just use a plastic hanger out of my closet. It's the word I'm looking for. Alan, where's your grip pressure during transition in your downswing? Where's your grip pressure? So Alan, if you search my name and grip pressure, the real main thing with grip pressure is trying to keep it whatever you do. It's not like hold it real soft and light for everyone. Some people have firmer grips. Some people have softer. I don't think you use like hold a bird type of thing. Some guys are better with that. Some people are better with firmer grips. I think you want to have firm, you can have firm hands so long as your arms are a little bit more loose, which is inherently difficult to do. And then your grip pressure shouldn't really change. And people talk about it different. A lot of the textbook stuff you'll see would be, you feel the pressure in your bottom 3 hands on your left. So not in your index finger, your thumb, you're feeling these bottom 3. And then in the middle 2 of your right, so your pinky finger, right in your ring finger. And then some people feel a little bit on the index finger, like a trigger finger. So it'd be these 3 fingers on your left, these 2 on your right with your trigger finger. That's like the technical answer to that. But I would say whatever grip pressure you're starting with, you don't want to start light and go real tight. You don't want to go real tight and then go light. You kind of keep it constant, the same back and through. What's more important, backswing or downswing? Is this the same Matthew Lynch that says I overcomplicate things from the beginning? I think it is. So to keep it simple, I will say downswing. Hey, like that. It's a little like reversal of thing. Okay. Yeah, downswing's more important. Backswing's only important if it messes up your downswing. Things you can do during the backswing, like if you got a terrible backswing, but it leads to a great downswing, then keep your terrible backswing. A backswing's only terrible, really, by definition, if it messes up your downswing. Like people who go too far inside, roll open, 9 out of 10 are going to be too steep. So what's the problem? Do you fix the too steep, or is the problem because you went inside? Well, you're only too steep because you went inside. So this whip inside takeaway caused this. So you fix that first, right? If a club face is too open during the backswing, which makes you roll, like a lot of people come in and say, hey, I flip it, I want to fix my flip. And your backswing, your club face looks like this. Face is wide open. Well, you can't fix a flip if your face is like that. So you got to fix your backswing club face. And then some people say, well, backswing doesn't matter. Well, that doesn't make any sense. What if your club face is wide open? That doesn't matter at all? You're not going to react to that? Of course you're going to react to that. So the backswing matters dependent on how much it affects your downswing. Club face and swing plane during the backswing will be the 2 biggest pieces that affect your downswing. Body amounts, same thing. So much for my short answer. If you sway way this way, are you going to react to that? Of course. If I turn a lot or not turn. So the backswing definitely matters. Jim, yeah, back's in bad shape, man. I'd say I'm at like 50%. Can't really swing a club or hit a ball yet, but hopefully Friday. Paul, middle of the year, I converted to 10-finger grip during my comeback to golf. I know it's helped tremendously as it gets the right hand back in charge, more power I've ever tried. Yeah, I played 10-finger grip for probably my first like 4 or 5 years of golf, Paul. So 10-finger grip, like no interlock or interlock or overlap is what I'm looking for. And I played 10-finger grip and I hit it good, played fine. And then I took a lesson and the first thing the guy did was change me to interlock, and then I just kept doing it because I saw Tiger do it. So I'm not convinced that I see a tremendous amount of benefit either way to interlocking, overlapping, or 10-finger. Some people who interlock tend to see the interlock so deep with their finger and it gets the club too far in the palm of their trail hand. So I think if you're going to do the interlock, it's got to be not as deep there. You still keep the club more in your fingers. So either way. Dan, is it possible to clear your hips pelvis too early? I've heard some coaches say this causes distance loss, but I'm skeptical. So I would say it's tough to rotate too early with 2 caveats. It's tough to rotate too much too early, assuming your chest and shoulders are going semi with it. Meaning if your hips open, let's say your hips are open, they're closed 45 at the top, they're way open way early, and your chests are way closed. So there's like a huge, too big of a gap between the two. That can cause problems in terms of club face, club path direction control. That'd be caveat 1. And caveat 2 would be that you turned enough going back. So like if you made a full turn on the way back and then you opened a ton on the way through, Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's debatable. You can get too open to the point where if your chest and shoulders are too closed and your arms and hands are too far behind you, so you're stuck because you're too far open. But is the fix then just get your upper body going open with it? Or do you fix the lower body part? I'm hesitant to take rotation out of someone's swing. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather say, hey, keep all that awesome hip rotation you have that you're way open, add in torso rotation or other pieces to match that. That's what usually I would start. Now, I've had junior players who, due to like lack of strength, are trying to create speed, and they get the differential between their shoulders and hips just wildly out of control. And then for that, I do the stick between the belt loops, you know, like this. And then what you want to feel on the way down is that your arms have to get in front of the stick versus it being wildly too far out in front of you. So it's really only an issue if you get dumped under because your upper body's too closed. So younger kids usually do that because they're trying to sling a hook. So their hips are way out, their chest is back, they're under plane. Push hook fat thin. I'd put the stick in there and get the arms back in front for that individual golfer, right? Richard, can you clarify the difference between, as Mike Malaska video, right wrist bend and wrist cinch, which I'm assuming you mean wrist hinge? Right wrist bend, so there's flexion extension, which would be me going this back way would be extension. So my wrist bent back like this. This would be flexion this way, like I'm doing a curl, flexing my forearm. So flexion, extension. And then there's hinge, which would be radial deviation, which is thumb up, and then ulnar deviation, which is thumb down. So extension, flexion, radial, ulnar, right? So it just depends on what kind of terms we're going to use. But the more that you unhinge your wrist, so let's use like my lead wrist, the more I unhinge my wrist, the more that's going to go with flexion. So the more I bow and unhinge go together, and then extension and hinge go together. So the more cup I have, the more hinge I'm going to have. Cup plus hinge, unhinge and flexion go together. That's why a lot of you guys have too much cup this way at the top, and gals. If you just took your hinge out, that fixes that, right? See how that works? So that's how the wrist conditions work together. More hinge, more cup, less hinge, more bow, or vice versa, works together. Any tips for stack and tilt players? Yeah, absolutely. What sort of things are you looking for? I've tried shortening my swing like Tony Finau, but have trouble with syncing up at impact. My hands are too far ahead at impact. Yeah, Chris, so if your hands are too far ahead at impact, you're part of like the 0.0001% of the population that's a problem for, which is a great thing. What you need to feel like you do if your hands are too far forward is feel like you throw the club earlier, essentially. So you're sensing, again, you're 0.0001. Most people here, I got a little pause. I think we're back. Okay, sorry. So most people are too far back this way, like this. So if you're too far forward, you need to feel like you're throwing the club head, like flipping it earlier and letting the club head pass your hands more. So to feel like you're throwing the club head past your hands and feeling like you're pulling your hands up and left and throwing the club head. Pull the hands up and left, throw the club head. So when you're hitting little like flick shots, it should feel like to you, like you're like literally flicking your wrists like earlier in the downswing. So throw it earlier. Don't anyone else on here do that, but you can do that. What do you think about wisdom in golf and rotary swing? So wisdom in golf, I don't know. I've never seen that. Rotary swing, I like. I've never seen the back end of it. Rotary swing was the first like online golf platform like we do that I saw that was like doing it pretty good. I've liked some of the videos that I've seen. I haven't seen enough to like say in depth, but they definitely knew what they were doing early on in terms of building their business model. That's for sure. In terms of the golf swing stuff, I haven't seen a ton of it, but I like what they've done. Any tips for stack and tilt? Yes. What are the best drills or thoughts to stabilize the club face through the hitting area rather than a lot of rotation? I'm trying to reduce my timing dependency. So the number one thing you can do to ensure that your club face is more stable through impact is to have it more closed to the arc you're swinging on. Let's let that settle in for everyone. So the number one thing you can do to make your club face more stable through impact is to make it more closed earlier on, period. The more that you want to have a not stable club face that rotates a lot, make it more open. There's a one-to-one correlation between those with every golfer I've ever seen in the past 13, 14 years, in person or online. Open club face, a lot of face rotation, have to. Closed club face, very little face rotation. Every junior golfer I've ever worked with who came to me with a really strong grip, and then so their club face was too closed, had the handle a ton forward and rotated a ton. Every one of them, without fail. Who was any good? Every player who came in with a weak grip, open club face, a lot of flip. Every one of them, right? So closed club face. So that means your grip's got to, in fact, your grip doesn't have to be strong. You can play with weak and bow the heck out of it, but your grip would be part to look at. Wrist conditions. Make sure your face is tilted down towards the ground, like a Victor Hovland. That's kind of what you would be modeling, right? And then you have to be able to turn and pivot some amount, right? So what are the best drills would be that. I would say the compression video we did, the one compression video, the thumbnail is like me with the club right here and the face is tilted down. You do that forever, right? Like get the club face tilted down and have the face too closed. So let's say it's normal at setup. Get the face tilted down. Let's say normally it's 30 degrees. Tilt it down, like literally hit some where it's tilted down like this. That's how far tilted down it is. And then put a stick out in front of you, like here, and learn how to hit punch shots with the face from here. So look how tilted down that is. And the only way you could hit a shot from there, like if it's this tilted down, is to have the handle wildly forward and have no face rotation. So that's it. Like if every golfer started with that, we'd be in a much different place. But the reality is 9 out of 10, the club face is too open. And then that leads to compensations that become habits. Scott, you're welcome. Any feels for closing the driver face to path without de-lofting? Yeah, so you know, it's a little tricky depending upon how we define de-lofting, but I would say face to path, what you're looking for is grip. So is your grip strong enough? Is your face square enough during the backswing? And then during the downswing, you've got the options of bowing more, but that's going to really typically change the loft. You can add supination, so lead arm supination, which would be like the logo of your glove going from away from you to a little bit more down and to the left. So the face will have a little bit, I feel like the face is having a little bit more rotation this way. Supination. Supination gets a bad rap, but like most players I've ever had to teach out of arm rotation, who had too much arm rotation, already were like shooting in the 70s. You know, like I don't know that I've ever seen someone who had a lot of arm rotation, past impact, who didn't score pretty good, because you did that as a solution to square the club face, and you probably struggle with hooks, and that's a good problem. A lot of people, a lot of us are too scared to add arm rotation because it's bad, adding timing. And so the face is too open, you hit to the right, and then you swing over the top, da-da-da-da-da. So I would add arm rotation. Like if I hit the ball to the right, if I was me, hit the ball to the right, and I didn't want to change my grip or do the wrist flexing, I've taught so many players, especially when I first started, to add arm rotation like this, and then hit shots with that and hook it left on purpose. Like if you're struggling with having the club face open, your first month, the goal shouldn't be go from right shots to straight shots. The goal should be right shots to boomerang the thing to the left. Like you want to learn how to hit like a 40-yard hook for the first month. Imagine after a month if you owned a 40-yard hook. You know what's really easy to do after that? Take some of the arm rotation out, get the handle forward, pivot a little, and then play great. We try and go from slice to straight or push to straight too early. So I would look at lead arm supination, even though it's bad. Mo, are there any advantages, disadvantages of a left-hander playing right-handed? Not if you're good, you know, like Phil's righty plays lefty. You know, if you're not good doing that, then maybe try the other side. You know, it's I've taught a lot of people who are ambidextrous or play one way, right one way, throw one way. I think Mo, you know, whatever, kidding aside, I mean, whatever, although I guess I'm not kidding, like if you stink at it, maybe don't do the other one, but whatever feels more comfortable, you know, and whatever you perform better at, maybe try both of them if you're not sure, and see what you like best, and then stick to one, you know, and pound one home. Jeff, what are the best thoughts to eliminate throwing, casting the club from the top of the backswing? Yeah, make sure the face is square enough would be number one to get the handle forward. And then you have to exaggerate the opposites. So It depends. It depends, Jeff, on why you're throwing it. So if you're throwing it because the face is open, you got to make sure you fix that. If you're throwing it because your shaft is steep and you're throwing it to shallow the angle of attack, so you might just be steep and then you throw it to fix that. Very little body rotation. Like it depends on what the root is. Now, by fixing the root, that doesn't automatically mean you're going to fix your flip. You know, it'd be really nice if it was like, hey, sometimes, but here's your root cause, fix that, everything gets fixed. That's like la la land. What happens is you can fix that, and now when you try and fix your flip, you will actually be able to do it, right? That's really how it happens, usually. So best drills to do that. Make sure the face is square to closed. Make sure your swing path is from inside, not steep, and make sure you have enough body rotation. How do I know if I have enough body rotation? My new old body rotation drill that I'm kind of using solely now, I found a stock of drills that we just use for everything. This would be my body rotation one, just because it works every time I ever do it. Is you put the belt loop, you put the stick through your belt loops. I'm rusty. 1 week off, I'm like, I can't even speak. And then you put the club on the ground like 45 degrees. So let's say this is my target. You guys have seen this, right? This has been around for a gazillion years. Let's say I take my setup, not an Eric Cogorno special. Put the club on the ground 45 degrees to the left. I make a backswing, get the stick on the ground before you get to impact. So you feel like if you're not usually open, that'll feel wide open. So from this side, put a stick on the ground 45 degrees this way. This is like any of you guys watching who are like, man, I can't start my downswing with my hips, or I need hip rotation, or just to start to activate the hip motion. All of you can do this. Stick in your belt loops, club on the ground 45 degrees. Feel like you get the stick on the ground over the 45-degree stick before you get to impact. And then you can hit balls with this in and see what that does. That'll give you the hip rotation. We're going to do another video on that shortly. That's just like, you know, if you get good at that, you don't have to do another hip rotation drill. It's like the hanger drill for the wrist conditions and the hinge. Like if you get good at that, you don't really have to do the next flavor of the week, you know, the new tip. So that's, Jeff, what I would say for that. If that doesn't work too, you know, that sequencing drill we did, that's another one that's so good. You got to learn how to do it, you know, but when you do that float load, back to about halfway back, right arm's long, unhinged, start your downswing by feeling your lead shoulder, lead hip, pushing down and forward, and let the club react to that as you start down. You can even feel your hands work a little bit up as you're doing that, and see what happens with your shaft lean from there. So, well, not rapid fire. Larry, what's up, man? Can you talk about the importance on the downswing of posting into your lead leg in a good drill? Yeah, we did a video, Larry, on, we did a couple, one specifically called the left leg during the downswing. And I lost my spot. And I talked there about like, hey, how much should you bend the leg? How much you straighten it, the timing of it. The reality is when you look at different patterns, it's not the same across the board. So there's different ways of doing it. Some players you'll see from the top. So when you set up, your knees should be bent roughly over the balls of your feet or the edge of your shoelaces, roughly. So there's just a little bit of bend. During your backswing, your left leg bends even more. As you start down, it remains the same or increases a little bit of flex to about halfway down. And then from there, it's starting to straighten. That'd be like a stock pattern. Bent, bent more, straighten. Now, let's say your leg stays bent too long, you know. Dustin Johnson does that. So I don't know how bad it is. But let's say your lead leg stays bent too long, or you're not getting into your leg enough. You know, some of the things you would start to do would be putting an object outside of your leg. So let's pretend you had like a chair here. So if you had a chair or wall up outside the lead leg, so when you come down, your sensation would be pushing down into the ground with your foot, pulling your hip up and back, and missing the chair. Because if you struggle with that part, yeah, it depends on that why, but you would want to feel object outside of your leg like the chair, feel like you're pushing down into that left leg, pulling the lead hip up and back as you get the impact. Pull the lead hip up and back as you get the impact. That would be, you know, feeling like you're straightening it sooner. Michael, cool push up and back. How to fix reverse pivot and left hip pain and downswing. Left hip pain I do not know about. How to fix reverse pivot. If we're saying reverse pivot is your upper body let's say circle around your head, upper body leaning too far towards the target, you always fix a problem with the opposite and you exaggerate. What's the opposite of going towards the target? Would be away from the target. So you would feel like your chest stays down towards the ground. You're gonna feel like your head moves off the ball a little bit. You're gonna record yourself, draw a circle around your head and monitor those feels to the point where your head just stays in the circle. You could also turn around and use the shadow, right? So I've got a shadow on the back of my head over here, make a backswing till my head stays on it. For you, it'll feel like you're off the ball, head off the ball, chest down, etc. You really, as a checkpoint, wanna have an object inside your trail foot, like this, and put the club across your shoulders and get the grip of the club over that stick. Now for you to do that, it's gonna feel like your body moves off the ball a little bit. That would be good if you have too much of a reverse pivot. Of course, that depends on how you're defining reverse pivot, assuming I'm saying the right things there. Hip pain, I think that's a doctor or PT thing. Lewis, what's up, man? Have the hanger, got it, cheap on eBay. It was way easier to use than a coat hanger. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the coat hanger on the side is inconvenient. That's why I kind of want to make one of those, but you can get the hanger. I think Watson Golf is the one who makes that. Just turned 16. What's up, man? 103 miles per hour club head speed on my driver. What can I transition from, or I'm sorry, when can I transition from stiff to an extra stiff shaft so I can gain distance off the tee? J Ray Golf. I don't know. And there's no black and white answer to that, meaning like, all right, dude, when you, it's a good question, right? I get where you're going, but it's not like, hey, when you hit 110, boom, shaft change. It's different for different people. It depends on how you load and torque the shaft. It depends on a lot of different variables other than just club head speed. I would highly suggest you go find a good club fitter and go in person and get a driver fitting. It made a huge difference to me. We have John Hutzler, who's in West Virginia. I don't know where you are from. He's in Bunker Hill, West Virginia. He's a great club fitter. He's who I would recommend. He's one of our guys. Or anyone close to you that you've seen that does good work, I would get a driver fitting for that, because it doesn't just depend on your speed alone. Where are your eyes looking when you set up on your irons? On top of the ball or behind it? Yeah, so when I look at the ball like I look at the road when I drive. So when you're driving your car, you're looking at the road, but you're not like looking at the road. You know what I'm saying? Like your mind's elsewhere and you just happen to be looking at the road, right? Or like you're watching TV, but you're thinking about something else. You're like, I'm looking at the TV, but I'm thinking somewhere else. That's kind of how it is with the golf swing. Caveat to that, if you were going to look anywhere, you could, it depends on what your issue is, right? So like if you're someone who, let's say, hits too far behind the ball, someone might say, hey, look at the front of the ball or look in front of the ball, and that'll help you with your contact. That could be true. You might be someone who's over the top and they say, hey, look at the inside part of the ball, try and hit that, and that will help, and that's true. So it all depends. There's no one answer for that. When I've really been in the zone, like when I played golf and I've been like zen, like really present in the moment, I used to, and I never do it anymore, I don't play really much, but I used to look at a dimple on the ball and like zone out on a dimple. So I'd pick a dimple right on the top of the club and I'd look at it and just get like zoned out, like I was smoking weed. Like I like don't even know where I'm at, but I'm on the dimple. And that always, when I was really playing well, was like a good focal point for me. It was like zoning out on a dimple. Same thing with putting. I'm looking at it like I don't even know where I'm at type of deal. And then where you look is going to be dependent a little bit on your fault. But I don't know if that's a long-term thing. Like I think when you look at the inside, outside, front, whatever, and you hit it better, I don't know that that's a forever thing. Maybe it is. I think that's sort of a short-term thing. Jim from Australia, what's up, man? Keep on topping, hitting fairway woods fat. Please help. So Jim, ultimately I'd have to see your swing. I don't know exactly why that's happening. And for everyone on here, if you don't know, even though I pound it home in every single video, you have to know by now, cogornogolf.com, C-O-G-O-R-N-O golf.com is where you can send in your swing videos. Myself and the coaches will give you feedback. So Jim, it depends on why that's happening. If you're hitting them both fat and thin, it sounds like you have a low point issue behind the ball. That could be a lot of things. That could be the ball's too far forward. You have too much tilt at address. You shift off the ball too much. You don't shift forward enough. Your lead shoulder, lead hip go up too much. Your swing plane's off. You got a bad grip. Your wrist is too cupped. You swayed too much. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of reasons that could happen, Jim. That's really one of those that I have to see to say for sure. If you watch our fairway, or no, our fairway wood things got deleted, huh? We did a fairway wood hybrid masterclass, and one of the videos, there was a contact drill where I did the towel behind the ball and then the tee in front of it. You put a tee like, and these are short-term things, Jim. Like I have to see your swing, man, to be able to like really help. You put a tee like a club in front and you're trying to hit the ball and then the tee after the ball. You could purchase our Fairway Wood Hybrid Masterclass, has all that stuff in there. Yeah, I had to see that one, Jim. Just could be too many things, man.
Or join the golf.
Yeah, join the membership site. You get them all for free. Having trouble losing spine angle and head diving into the ball at the takeaway. I've tried the bag against butt drill. So what you want to feel is your head against the wall, and then your head has to come off the wall. So if your issue, remember guys, always the issue, if you know what it is in terms of body, do the opposite, exaggerate way more than you think. That should get you in the ballpark, and then use video to confirm, right? Because that's what I would tell you if you were with me, the same exact thing. So if you start, let's assume, draw a line down the front of your head, and your head dives too far forward. Let's start with the opposite. So if you put a noodle there, we did a video, it's like the only drill that every golfer could have or should use. And then a week later, we did the only other drill every golfer should use with the YouTube title. But one of them, I have a pool noodle on the front of my head. And then during my backswing, you're trying to keep the pool noodle, your head on the noodle. Now, when you do this, if you go too far forward, you want to feel like your head comes off of the wall or noodle. So like if you get yourself set up to like a wall, put your head on a wall, feel what it feels like to come up and off it. It depends on why you're diving forward. You might feel like your shoulders turn flatter, your head works up and back, your pressure works more in towards your heel, your right hip works deeper, right? Any of those feels could be why you go too far forward. If you go too far forward, could be too much pressure on your toes. That's likely what it is. So I would say more pressure in your right heel. Feel your head come off the wall a little bit, maybe a little bit flatter shoulder turns, what you might feel when you're doing that. Let's see here. Where I set up. Is it okay to flip if it's after contact? Yes, you have to flip eventually. So your lead wrist has to go into extension. Yeah. As a drill, we might do some where you hold on forever. Like if you have contact issues, doing a drill where you hit balls and you hold on to it forever is a good drill. You know, the right wrist stays bent, the club stays to the right. You learn how to punch solid shots out. Good drill. Eventually, though, in reality, at speed, your club head has to throw. So another video we did, which I think got deleted, was how you straighten the arms past impact. And I talked about there's different ways to throw it. Some people throw it at the ball. This would be like less body rotation. Stand up and throw. You can play from there. Normal swing pattern, you throw the club at about 45 degrees past the ball. So right about here. If you've got a lot of speed, a more closed club face and or a lot of body rotation, you're going to feel like it throws more at the target. So yeah, you're going to throw. Depends on your club face angle, body rotation mainly. Less body rotation, more open club face, you're going to throw right away at the ball. Decent on both of those two, you're about 45 past the ball. Victor Hovland, Dustin Johnson type of guy would throw more at the target, face more closed, a lot of body rotation. And then, of course, if you got an air, like if you flip this much too early, you've got to feel like you hold on to it forever to make a 1 inch of change. That's the whole thing. The drill, if you flip a little early, feels like you never flip. So your right wrist stays bent forever. Your left wrist is bowing through impact. Now that doesn't really happen, but those are the feels to over exaggerate. Okay. Higher hands at the top or deeper hands? Roger. Not the same for everyone. Stock model, if I had a golfer come in with no habits, I'd get their hands down their toe line, through the right pec, right bicep, over the trail shoulder with the club head right down the line or just slightly laid off from the top with the irons. If their swing was longer, I'd let it go across the line. If it was shorter, I'd keep it more laid off. I'd go through the pec bicep, over the trail shoulder. Amateur golfers tend to not have enough depth from the golfers that I see. We did that trail shoulder video, you know, and of course, the caveat, I got to make a better, I guess, of the caveats. Like the trail shoulder thing is for those who don't get deep enough, don't turn enough, need more depth. Because then everyone will say, well, what about the arms in front? Well, the arms in front is good for people who have enough depth, have too much depth, turn enough, right? So it all depends on the person. If you're a good player, I've seen good players up here, down here, in between, whatever. But the vast majority of golfers who have issues who don't hit it great, their arms tend to be too high, not too deep. And I don't care, you know, like something will come, hey, this study, whatever. Like I've seen, I don't know if I've given 15, 20,000 lessons, probably 10,000 online lessons. And so I don't really care what a machine says or anything else. I've seen it. The arms tend to be too vertical, not too deep. And so the vast majority of players need to get deeper, not more vertical. Do some players get too far behind and get to go? Oh, of course, but not the majority of them. Not the majority of them. Okay. How to hit the buttercut without holding, trying to hold off so much. So Sean, if you have to hold off so much to hit a cut, that means you right now, your normal swing, the face is too close to the path or your path is too far to the right. Because for me to hit a buttercut, I need to feel like I hold off too, but my stock shot's a draw. So my stock shot, my path's about 2 to 3 to the right and my face is 1 or 2 to the right. So for me to change that to hit a cut, I can't do it without feeling like I'm holding off a little consistently. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't want to feel that, which I don't think you should try and not feel that. I think it's okay to feel that. In fact, I would feel that, right? But if you're like, hey, I want to keep my release pattern same, I don't want to do that, I would open your stance more than you think. I would play the ball forward, have the face pointed between your end goal and your path. So let's say the target is like a flag, and I've got a secondary target maybe 30 feet to the left. I'm going to aim my feet 30 feet to the left. I'm going to aim my club face 15, so about half of that, and I'm 15 to the left, and then I'm going to swing across my toe line, and I feel like I swing real hard, low left pass impact, and then you shouldn't have to feel like you hold on the face enough. You're going to do that as a reaction because you're swinging so far left. So the solution there would be shift your swing direction a lot by setup and or by feeling it, and then you wouldn't have to feel the hold off as much. Eric, let's see. So I'm not stiff, but I can't get the right feel to rotate on the downswing. Any tips? Yeah, if you can't get any like hip rotation, or I don't know how to rotate, that 45-degree stick drill is all you need to do. That is it. There's no better drill on planet Earth than that. You have to just learn how to do it and get good at that, right? That's it. So if you need to rotate, your hips aren't opening up, put the sticks through your belt loops. The sticks through your belt loops. Put the stick, I'm going on vacation. Stick through your belt loops like this, and then put a stick 45 degrees to the left in front of you. So it's on the ground 45, up to the top. Feel the stick get over the 45 before you get the impact. Now, if you do that and you record it and you're like, hey, normally I have 0 degrees of hip rotation. When I do the drill, I've got 15. Eric said I should have 45. Well, no, you could be world class at 15. But if you have 15 and you hit a ball and you want more, what do you have to do? On the next ball, you must exaggerate more. Okay, I exaggerate more. I go from 15 to 20. But Eric, I'm still at 45. Then you're swinging too long or too fast relative to where your learning is. Meaning, shorten up the swing length, go slower. The slower your hands travel from the top, the more time you have to open your body rotation. Like your hands from the top of the swing should come down from your body moving. So from here to the top, if you want more rotation, if you struggle with rotation, the arms and hands come down. The more you see, watch if I just open my hips. My arms and hands come down a lot. Like that to me gets me almost to impact, and I feel like my arms and hands aren't moving at all. Like I'm trying to consciously not move them, and they're going to come down from the turn. So that stick drill is all you need to do. Anyone on here? Like, hey, I got no hip rotation. I don't do that. Don't do it one time and then not hit it and be done with it. Do it, exaggerate it, record it, right? Guarantee that works. Works every single time I've ever done it. You just got to stick with it. I'm like on rant. I'm like ranting Monday. What's your theory on cocking head at address for driver versus iron? What's your theory on cocking head at address? Cocking the head at address. I'm not sure. I don't know if you mean club head driver or literally head. Like club head of the club? What's your theory on cocking head at address? Maybe you mean like this way? Like a neck tilt? I don't love that either way. So regardless of what you were talking about, Michael, I'll say I don't love the head cock move. Hello, Michael, pardon spelling drive. Okay. Bruce, head behind the ball and secondary tilt helping with contact and direction, question mark. Yes, so head more behind the ball comes from number one, having tilt at address, so right side bend, so a crunch. So the more I have my right shoulder lower, you see my head goes back. So tilt at address will get my head more back. Better for longer clubs, not as good for shorter clubs. Sandwich, you should be like this. 8-iron, 6-iron, you know, driver. That's one. You're turning back, keeping your head basically where you started. And then during the downswing, it goes more back from right side bend. So you're getting your right shoulder closer to your hip as you're turning, and then you're extending your hips up and forward. So that would be better for like shallower angle of attack, longer clubs, more distance, etc. If you're struggling with contact, you hit behind the ball, can't hit the ground, etc. You don't want to go head back. You want to go head forward. So you struggle with contact. If you're too shallow, no divot, can't hit the ground, you want to feel left shoulder, left hip working down and forward. Like see how much I work down and forward? This is what you have to feel. I can't take a divot type of thing. Boom, like this. Club can't help but go on the ground. Now, if you go in the ground too much, you're too steep, struggle with longer clubs, can't hit driver but can hit 3-wood, right? Ding, ding, ding. If that's you, can't hit driver but can hit 3-wood, you hit too much down on it. You want to feel more tilt at address, keep your head back, and then keep your head working back. Now, you don't hang back on your right foot. You still push your hips forward and push your body forward, but your head stays back with the extension. Dustin Johnson turns his head while hitting 30 to 80-yard wedges. What is better, keeping eyes on ball or turning like either way? Anything Dustin Johnson does, if you can replicate, do it. The head rotation helps chest rotation. Chest rotation helps swing plane, low point, and face control. So when I swing through with my wedges, the more I get my face to the target, you see, it allows my neck to turn, my sternum to turn, my chest to turn. The more my chest turns, that means my shoulders open. The more my shoulders open, the more I swing on top of the plane or to the left. Good for wedges, right? Good for wedges. I want consistent contact. I don't need to hit them very far. So shirt buttons and chest to the target sooner. That also will help me keep my face more stable, right? Or face more neutral on the way through. So yes, good, very good for that. That's a good question. Yeah, I like the eyes out early if, now wedges are cool, but full swing, eyes can go out, but you got to make sure you have a big enough turn and you don't get your eyes out until about a foot during the downswing. And then you can kind of let it rip. Right from the top, you can get a little bit too far out and over it. Hi, Eric, I have a lot of trouble with my trail hand being overactive, throw impact, shutting the face down. Any drills to make it more passive? Yeah, so a couple things. I would, without seeing why that's happening, is it too active and throwing because your face is too open and it's motivated to do that? Yes or no? And then I would get a Tour Striker power click. We did a video, my favorite compression drill, right wrist. And in that video, I talked through a progression, literally how to practice it, where I say, hey, hip high, keep the right wrist bent, keep it bent forever. That'd be the feel. And then gradually work your way up. The other thing I do is make sure it's not just, some people blame their right wrist, but really it's a right arm and shoulder motion. So a lot of people during the downswing, their right shoulder goes internally rotated too early. So elbow points back behind me, the old, you can see the butt of the club, and the right wrist throw. So it's a squaring club face thing, shoulder internal and long this way, whereas more stable, you'd have the shoulder external and more this way. So the other video you can watch is passive release, how to get a passive release. That talks about the shoulder rotation. A lot of people blame it on wrist, it's shoulder and arm. So you'd want to have your trail arm more externally rotated. So humerus down, elbow down this way, and feel your right wrist bent longer into your follow through to the point where you could hit a ball and your right wrist never unbends. So if you bring this back, that right wrist stays to the right of my hands. So my right wrist is still bent there, right into my follow through. Trail shoulder more externally rotated will help with that. So I would start with those two drills. You can put a glove underneath your armpit to make sure your arm doesn't internally rotate and it stays external. Glove underneath your armpit, right wrist bent forever. So if I was like life on the line, fix that, but I don't know why it's happening, I would put glove under the armpit and get a Tour Striker wrist clicker thinger, power click. And I do those together. Taking a sponsor break, Wegmans. Okay. As an unpaid water sponsorship break. Good drill 2, keep rotating, happening after impact instead of stalling with huge right arm flip throw. Yeah, honestly, again, with the rotation drills, I would do the stick through the belt loop and keep it going, but set your secondary stick up different. So if you're struggling with the rotation continuing to happen, this is one, I've seen the stick through the belt loop stick on the ground, but I haven't seen the stick through belt loops. This one I'm going to show you. I saw this from George Gankis. He's the only person I've ever seen do this. First, stick through the belt loops, and then put this stick to the behind your left heel, not at 45, but where you need to get like literally your hips fully turned to the target. So your hips need to be fully turned. Put the stick in the ground behind you there and feel like you have to hit that as soon as possible. When you put the stick on the ground 45, that's going to get you open to impact. But if you're stalling out and you want to continue rotating, put the secondary stick in the ground behind you, behind your left heel. So you got to hit a full 90 because you can't get there by impact. You're going to need to get there into your follow through. So that will work. I'm telling you guys, stick to the belt loops rotation drill. There's just nothing. There's nothing better than it. Yeah, I mean, it's just there's nothing better. Like there's no better way to train the lead wrist than the tee in the thing and the hanger that I know of. Okay, longer irons woods are longer clubs. Longer irons woods are longer clubs. How do you adjust? So the longer the club, the less bent over you are. That's the primary factor. So if I'm here with like a pitching wedge, I'm more bent over with a pitching wedge, like my back line. With longer clubs, I'm much taller. So I have much less bent over. That's the primary difference. So if I were to do my posture with a driver, here's my pitching wedge. Now look how ridiculous I look if I put a driver in there like that. Looks ridiculous. At least it feels ridiculous. Here's my pitching wedge. Here's my driver. Right? Pitching wedge. Driver. Right? So the bend, how bent over you are, or how rounded your thoracic is, your upper body bent over, is the primary differentiator between the two. Wisdom in golf is Sean Clement. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen some of Sean's stuff. Whoever asked that earlier. Again, his I haven't watched enough to be like, give an opinion, you know, outside of just like my initial reaction to watching him, which is really unfair. Like if someone watched like 2 of our videos and then they like have an opinion on who you are as a person, you know, or like what they think of you based on 2 videos. So I'd have to watch more of them. You know, there's some people I watch a couple of videos and I'm right away like, oh, I like them. Like there's no, like I like Clay Ballard. It took me 1.5 to watch Clay Ballard's videos, top speed. I'm like, oh, yep, I like that. I like George Gankis's stuff. You know, all the guys we did YouTube videos with over the winter. So I just have to probably hang out with Sean, you know, watch his stuff a little more, then I could give a better opinion. And I usually watch a lot of people. So those ones I don't know, haven't watched. Jeff, what's usually the main reason for low, straight left shots for right-handers? So if it goes low, straight to the left, you primarily have a path and angle of attack issue. So if you're hitting low, straight left, your swing pattern's too far down and too far to the left. If it was just a club face problem, it would curve a lot. So you're not saying low hooks. So if it's a low hook, you've got a club face problem. If you're hitting low, dead straight to the left, your club path during the downswing is too far over the top, too far down, and too far left. You'd fix that by feeling like it's going wildly to the right and high. You could start with something very simple, like a bucket. Little trick thing there for us, huh? As good as we got. Yeah. All I can do is flip a basket over. So I would do something like this, right down your target line and say, hey, can you start to feel the club head moving from low and inside just to start to clip some shots and like take no divot. Now, if you told me, Jeff, you hit him real low left and don't take a divot, then the conversation's a little bit, but I'd have to assume you take a hefty divot with that. So too far down, too far left would be my guess without seeing it. Any tips on transition from the top of the swing back inside? Yeah, Paul, I have a ton of tips. Specifically, I'd watch 2 videos. One, search my name in X Factor. That'd be my biggest tip. And the second thing is that one drill, title that float load, one drill to fix your entire swing. Watch those 2. Those would be like my tips. Without knowing anything about like your game, Paul, but I was like, hey, train my downswing. Those would be the 2. Bill, where am I at here? Gosh, I'm not going to get through all these again. Nope. I got to go faster.
I don't think that's the issue.
Bill, love your videos. Yeah, we might have to start doing something where like you can get your questions beforehand because I don't know how I can get through them all. I'm like a diva, like a YouTube live diva. Okay. Bill, love your videos. Truly awesome. With regards to shallowing, I love the feeling, the weight of the club head, but my club face tends to open when I shallow, which I know you hate. Any suggestions? Yes, flex your lead wrist more when you do that to start your downswing or strengthen your grip. Zach, I practice with alignment rod. I'm keeping that short and sweet, Bill, because that is so short and sweet. Those are the answers. Zach, I practice with alignment rods, but always feel like I'm aiming straight when in rally. I'm aiming to the right, pulling back be on target. Any tips I feel square the ball? I'm practicing the alignment routes. Always feel like I'm aiming straight. When I'm in round, I'm aiming to the right. Yeah, so you're doing what my suggestion would be without knowing more, Zach. I would say, you know, it's like putting. Well, hey, when I put the putting line down, I look over, it doesn't look right. Well, you need to train with that line and a string line and train your eyes as a straight line. Or don't do it at all, like one of the two. So like, or don't put the sticks down, pick an intermediate target in front of you as close as you can, get your club face aligned to that and worry less about where your feet are, unless you got a ball flight pattern you don't like. If you want to aim square for the sake of aiming square, focus on the club face pattern. And then I need to know more about your ball flight. But yeah, I'd say if you go back and you look at the lines and you stand up there and you feel off and you just keep hitting, time should alleviate that, right? Time heals all wounds, and it'll do the same thing in terms of your eye structure. So you just got to stand and be like, okay, this doesn't look right, but I'm going to hit balls for the next month and just accept that until it starts to look normal. Because that's a very common, Zach. Chad, what's up, man? Thank you. Literally the reason I've gone from 22 to 12 and a half. Love that. Less than a year, still trending down. Good stuff, man, Chad. Glad to hear that you're improving. It's always nice to hear the success stories. Nah, you failed to mention. Okay, just kidding, kind of. Paul, as a person who grew up in Canada filled with left-playing hockey players, there's zero benefit in golfing left because your left wrist is naturally, yeah, there could be some truth to that, Paul. I could buy that. Jim, if you're, thanks, Jim. Any tips on keeping the lead shoulder down under chin on the backswing? Yeah, I mean, that's really just a feel thing to me, right? Is like when you go down, you have to feel like your left shoulder's going more down. If you need more of that, let's say you turn too flat, you almost might want to feel your left shoulder go straight down to your foot more. I can't bend with my back, but you want to feel like your left shoulder goes straight down to your foot as you're turning, right? You might also feel shirt buttons up towards the sky. That would be another, that's more of the extension piece, but those would be two to start with. Jim, that's one where you got to feel it and then record it and then just keep exaggerating. That to me, shoulder tilt in the backswing isn't one where there's like a really simple drill. That's more of a feel and then exaggerate versus like miss the bucket, right? That's an easy like path drill. Maybe there's one I just don't know. Richard, although sand and turf types vary, do you have general recommendation for sand wedge specifications? 56, 10 to 12 bounce, any best soft for keeping club face open? Yeah, no, I don't have great recommendations. I would get your wedges fit. I've seen a variety of things work for a variety of people that shouldn't make sense on paper, but they perform best. I think the bounce in your wedges matters the most around the greens. You want to find something that works the best in terms of that. 10 to 12 is about normal. That sounds right. I also think like I could give a great wedge player any club they've never seen before and they would still wedge it good. So skill to me is the overwhelming factor. Like I could, not to be it whatever, but like I could go shoot around par anywhere with anyone's wedge. Just hand it to me, I could figure it out. And I don't say that because look at me. I'm saying like the skill is more important. If you're already at that point, then I think the bounce could make a bigger difference after that. I guess some club fitting people not liking that answer. Yeah, Rich, honestly, man, I would say get a good fitting and see. I've seen so many different variations. Richard, how to avoid weight transfer at the beginning of transition from becoming reverse pivot at top of backswing? How to avoid weight transfer at the beginning of the transition from becoming reverse pivot. So just don't let your head go forward. That's the answer to that. It's only a reverse pivot. So like if you're going like this and you're saying you go this way, that transfer of weight only becomes a reverse pivot if your upper body goes too far forward. So the answer is full turn, keep your head back as you turn. So right side bend. So full turn, head on the wall, right shoulder closer to your right hip as you turn during the downswing. So that's not a problem unless your head moves forward. Yeah, like I'm smoking weed. That's what it feels like, man. You're like in the zone, you're zoned out. You don't even like know, you're just like looking at the clouds and shit, and then you probably play your best, like the most present. What are common reasons why wrist breakdown at top of backswing and club goes across the line? Ian, too much hinge, period. Too much hinge. Hand comes off the club, too much hinge. Club across the line, wrist cupped. Watch me take hinge out. You guys are gonna hate it from this angle, but you're gonna love it from this angle, right? So less hinge. It's classic. So I can't do that. And then you look from the other side and it's like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. Yeah, less hinge. What would you say about an upright swing like Tony Finau in terms of it looks like his head gets closer to the ball in the upswing? Yeah, I think that's fine. The average PGA Tour pro last time I looked, the head goes down about 1 inch during the backswing. Uh-oh, we got a little laggage. Okay, we're back. The head goes down about 1 inch during the backswing. So that's okay. Yeah, I can't get to all these guys. I'll try and rapid fire a couple more and then we're up on our app. Got the Shanks for the first time, 17 years, very flat swing, but the only thing I've changed is exaggerating my squat into the left side in transition. Is this the likely cause? I'd say, Bert, if you didn't have them before doing the squat and you have them after doing the squat, then that likely is the cause. I see the shanks come up a lot when the backswing gets too flat, especially if it's too flat too early. So perhaps an object outside the ball, if you search my name and shank, that might help. So guys, we're at our hour. I got a lot of questions I didn't get to. I will try and go faster next time. Let's see if I can just really fast for a minute go through these. How do I play the ball on a slope, uphill, downhill slope? Nash, purchase our Fairway Wood Hybrid Masterclass. I talk about that in there. Do you think? Yes, I do. Robert, what surprised Mary the most from her fitting session? We'll talk about that in a group because we're late here. Good question. Good practice the range for getting weight onto the front foot. Watch the drill we just put up of the only drill that'll fix your entire swing. So you're feeling like the pressure's moving into your left leg before you finish your backswing. Pressure down into your foot. Steve, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Great exercise to not go so steep during the downswing. Search my name in shallow. How would you help someone who made a change from very strong grip to more neutral weak, struggling with releasing the club head because they were holding on for years? Bow and roll the wrist more. So flex during the backswing or downswing and supinate more. You need more flexion and supination. Search my name and compress your irons. You'll see some of that. Or search my name and grip and release pattern, grip and wrist. You'll see more on that. Do you feel like you're hitting the ball with your back right shoulder? I don't, but you can feel like your right shoulder's down and forward for sure. With your new favorite drill, do you actively hinge the club up after the pause? No, you shouldn't actively hinge the club. Your feelings, Barbara, are push the hands up and back or pull the hands up and back as you work your body down and forward. So the hinge part, you're not actively going. That'd be the feel with that. Let's see. Follow rotary swing over 10 years, which is very good conceptually, but you are more repeatable. I appreciate that. Appreciate you being with us. I think we did your swing feedback today. If I'm thinking of the right person, I believe. Less hinge during the top. Speaking of hinge, Steven, I tend to yank the club inside on the backswing. Search my name and take away. You'll see drills for that. How do I find a happy medium between practicing my full iron shots, short pitching shots, tee game? You spread your time evenly. So when you practice, I would practice all of your skills each time. So if you're going to practice for, let's say, an hour, I would chip and putt for 15 minutes. Or I'm sorry, I would putt for 15 minutes, chip for 15 minutes, hit balls for half hour every single time. So if you went 3 days a week, 15 minutes putting, 15 minutes chipping, 30 minutes range. When you go onto the range, I do 20 balls, wedges warm up, 2 balls to each distance, 30 to 120. It's 20 balls. 20 balls with mechanics with video drill, 20 balls with an iron grid, and 20 balls with a driver grid. You can find more on that at www.cogornogolf.com. For drive, hold, release, how long should you hold the angles for? That's going to be too dependent per person, Simon. If you are throwing it too early, you would need to feel like you hold it longer. If you're holding it too long, you need to feel like you throw it earlier. So that's an impossible one in terms of feel, but you're definitely with the drive hold, want the face more square, lead shoulder more internal, elbow at the target longer. Grips pointing more, a little bit, works better with a stronger grip pattern. Regarding learning patterns, what are your thoughts on external tasks versus internal focus? Try and go external as much as humanly possible, Eric. That would be easier, I found, in terms of learning, but sometimes you have to go internal to get something done. Shoulder, elbow definitely factors into it a lot. Paula, what's up? Tend to yank the club inside and rotate my forearms. A drill to stop this. Steven, yeah. Search my name and takeaway. Put the stick down the club or ride it down your thigh would be a good when you go back. Feel your left palm more up towards the sky on your backswing, not down towards the ground. Left elbow more down towards the ground. Pain and trail side groin, I do not. I would go see a PT or a doctor. Greg, what's up, man? Iron shot out to the right and draw on almost to the point where it's a hook. I presume I have the inside out. Yeah, Greg, search my name and hook, and search my name and 45-degree drill to fix your pushes and hooks, and follow through feels. In fact, I start with that. Eric Cogorno follow through feels. Search those 3 videos, and you'll see feels for that. How does Tony generate so much distance? Talent. Steven, I draw everything, quite flat swing and strong grip, and a draw is not always. I draw everything. A draw is not always ideal on certain tees. I don't think you should change your ball pattern off the tee on certain holes unless you're shooting under par. If you don't shoot under par, I'd play 1 curve on all holes. If it doesn't fit that hole, play a shorter club off the tee. Statistically speaking, you'd be better off that way. Just want to say thank you. You are welcome, Mike. Appreciate it. We like Mike Malaska as well. Tempo drill. Mike, search my name and tempo. Losing early extension by losing my angles and impact have helped me enormously. I feel like I squat and impact. How do I avoid hitting behind the ball and shanking? JP, shorten your right arm and your right wrist. Like your right arm's bent forever and your right wrist is bent forever. All right, guys, 5 minutes over. That's as much as I think I could I could get through here. Actually, never mind. I have 4 left. I'm going to just rot these out. Sorry, Mary. Trouble getting a full backswing with straight left arm, flexibility or skill, looking for a little more distance. Taylor, search my name in width with the bucket between your arms. That's what I would do to get the width of the arms on the way back. Even if it's not a full backswing length, that'd be the best way to practice it. Search my name in width. What's about teeing super high and fat left for driver? What is it about teeing it super high and fat, I'm assuming you mean far left for driver, that innately makes it more difficult in the mind's eye golfer? I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that one. I don't know if it does make it. I don't know if it does make it difficult. We have to talk about that one a little bit. Oh, far, yeah. I don't know if it does. How to rotate the lead shoulder around and not upwards at impact. Cade, search my name and why the pros are so good. And you'll see a video with me pointing at my lead shoulder, and then search my name in left shoulder and search my name in tilts. And I talk about that. It'll be about an hour's worth of entertainment, hopefully. Having trouble hitting my driver, but not the other clubs topping a lot. Logan, send me your video in cogornogolf.com. I'd have to see why it's happening. Put on about 15 pounds of muscle last 2 years. Chest has gotten larger. How do you recommend arms attached to chest at address? Yeah, I would say if you have a thicker chest, broader shoulders, you're not going to have as much depth of the arms and hands. Your lead arm's going to be more out in front of you. So what you have to do is make sure the shaft's not too vertical. Get the shaft feeling like it's more laid off. So if the arms are out in front of you and the shaft's already back on plane, then you could make that work without having to tilt too much. If your arms are in front of you and the shaft is vertical, you're going to have to tilt way too much to hit it. So arms more in front, not as deep. Get the shaft more on a flatter, more horizontal angle if that's your the issue with that. First hole in one. Nice, dude. Congratulations. We'll take that. I only have one hole in one. All right, guys, that's it. Next week, we'll do the same thing, 5 p.m. As I mentioned, in terms of sending the swings in, would love you guys to check out cogornogolf.com. That's where you can send me your swings. We can... Rizzo, I didn't see your question there. What is it? Any issues with swing, getting my right hip deep in the backswing? Felt something different as I send the right heel in the back. Is that? Yeah, I think that's good. I think that sounds right. Of course, you got to look at video and see. What you need to do is take a video, draw a wall up your right hip. Make sure your hip doesn't go to the right of it. What I would feel, we did this with Steve. You'll see this coming up. Put a club inside your left foot like this. Put a club inside your left foot and feel your tailbone get to that. So put a club inside your left foot. Feel your tailbone get to that. Like the back of the tailbone is going to work towards the target. That'll help your sway. Next Monday, 5 p.m. Back should be good. We're going to hit balls. Appreciate you guys. Hope all is well. Check out cogornogolf.com. Would love to work with you. See you guys next week. Okay.